Welcome back to We Connect. Mr. Arun SHOURIE is my guest here today, and it really is our pleasure to have him on our program. Author, politician, editor of newspapers, leading newspapers at that, and an economist to boot. I mean, what more can any anchor ask for? Pleasure really once again to have you on our show. What do you think about the India of 2012?
It is, that since one of the wonderful things that had happened in the 1990s and 5 years ago was that the sense of possibilities which used to be there in Pandit Nehru's time had been restored. We thought things were possible.
Yes.
And that's been shaken. And I feel that is primarily because the society remains healthy. It is resilient. But the structure of the state has been hollowed by termites, these political termites. And that is our problem, and that's a very big danger for the integrity of the country and the national security of the country. And we blame it on democracy, but actually this is not democracy, this is disarray. What's happening in Parliament, what's happening in state legislatures.
Parliament just getting stalled all the time.
Yes, and what is happening in many of our streets, this is democracy.
Right. You've always spoken out very vociferously about things that you didn't like, things that were happening, and, very vocal indeed.
And things which I liked.
And of course, that's true, and I need to say that as well. How have you been able to, do so many different things? I just keep thinking, author, you've written so many books, and been newspapers, economists, so many.
Just the task at hand. Just attend to the task at hand.
Really? It's not so simple, surely.
Well, that's the way I do it.
All right. Which of these then do you like best?
Whatever I have to do at that moment.
Really? Yes. That's amazing. Now,
but of course, it was a wonderful thing to be working for Mr. Ramnath Goenka.
Yes.
It was a wonderful thing to be working with Mr. Vajpayee. Of course, absolutely, I have great reverence for him. It was a wonderful thing to know Mr. Jayaprakash Narayan. Any one of these things at that moment.
Right. And of course, so many books. I can
26.
26, I know, and counting. Your last book is extremely beautiful. It's extremely touching.
Yes.
I know it's a personal pain here that comes out. But however, I loved the title. I just wondered about the fact that you've written mother.
Yes.
Rather than father.
Yes, of course, because it is a mother's heart. And I was taught, that was dramatized to me. That the title comes from a series of conversations with Mr. J. Krishnamurthy, whom the people here know extremely well.
Yes, of course.
And he was in Delhi, and Mr. Goenka said, "No, you must go and see him. He will do something for your child."
Yes, I read that. Yes.
So it was for him that then. I would repeatedly go to him, and he would fondle the child, he would talk to me, and then in between he would say, half an hour, 45-minute conversation, and your wife didn't come? So I would say that, I'll give some excuse. So she was busy, her sisters had come.
Yes, right.
Next time, she was busy with the school for spastic children, which she was helping at that time. And he would just shrug it off, and then continue the conversation. And then he said, well, actually, I'm going to Banaras, and we have a very good property there, and you are most welcome to come. Bring the child and stay with me for a month. And, I don't believe in miracles, but other people have been healed by these hands. Of course, your wife is welcome to come, but she won't come.
Right.
So I told Anita that he's such an elegant and elderly man and said to be the greatest teacher after the Buddha and so on. Come for my sake. She never goes. She said, our hopes are raised and dashed, there is no point. But I said, just come for my sake. So she came. I had our child in my hand. I was going to sit next to Mr. Krishnamurthy, where he used to let me sit. He said, no, sit there.
So ordered you around.
Well, he was a very big man. So I sat there, and he made Anita sit next to him and held her hand.
Right.
And the conversation, politics, this, that, and the other country. And he turned to her and he said, and what do you feel about your child? She said, he's a very happy child. He said, I didn't ask you what kind of a child he is. I said, what do you feel about your child? She said, he is of a life. He said, I didn't ask you. He raised his voice. what he is? I said, what do you feel about your child? And Anita is a very strong girl. For 15 years she had not shed a tear. And it was like a missile had burst a dam, and she started crying, and she went on crying, and she went on crying. And he kept holding her hand, and he turned to me and said, I told you, you don't know a mother's heart.
Okay, so
And
that's
so my title is, yes, I don't know a mother's heart, but does he know a mother's heart? He said to be all-knowing. Why does he inflict this?
right.
So the book is about
Oh,
the explanations for suffering and how I found them to be inadequate and how I ultimately gravitated to the teachings of the Buddha.
I know, I believe so. Mr. Shourie, I wonder if you understand how inspiring your book is, not necessarily to somebody who might not have a special child like Aditya is to you, but in many different ways. Has it actually occurred to you how inspiring that book is?
No, not to me, but I'll tell you, one of the best,
Please.
some of the best compliments I've received is that thrice or four times at airports, I've just been accosted by ladies who came up
Yes,
and said, you have written on our behalf.
really.
I am the mother of a special child, or I have been looking after so-and-so, and you wrote on my behalf. That was a wonderful thing to hear.
Right. But to that, I'm going to finally add and say to you that you could have written it on my behalf as well, although I don't necessarily have a special child, but it is inspiring in a million different ways, Mr. Shourie, and it's my pleasure and it's my joy to actually say this to you today.
Thank you.
And I want to thank you so
Thank
very,
you
very much
Thank
indeed
you.
for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, that's all we have time for here on Reconnect, and I'm really glad that you could join me as I spoke to somebody whom I've really admired for a very, very long time, admired him professionally in what he's done and how he has had the courage to stand up. And don't forget that on Reconnect, every single weekend, you're going to meet people who are interesting, people who are fascinating, and above all, people who always, but always have a story to tell us. And so until the next time, you take care. Bye for now.